If you gave yourself just 6 months, no excuses, no negotiation, no running from your potential, your entire life could look completely different. And the wildest part, deep down, you already know it. Think about the last 6 months of your life. Did you move with intention, or did they slip through your fingers? Did you grow into someone you're proud of, or did you repeat the same thoughts, the same routines, the same days? Now imagine this, 6 months from today, you wake up with a mind that's sharp, disciplined, and calm. Your body feels stronger. Your habits finally align with the future you keep thinking about. You look in the mirror and, for the first time in a long time, you trust the person staring back. That version of you is not a fantasy. They are a direct result of what you decide starting now. This audio isn't motivation. It's a contract. A quiet agreement between you and the strongest version of yourself. A version that's tired of waiting. Tired of starting over. Tired of living below their potential. For the next 6 months, you're going to stop treating time like it's unlimited. You're going to stop waiting for the right moment. You're going to stop choosing comfort over growth. Because the truth is simple. 6 months is enough to rebuild your habits, your mindset, your discipline, and your entire identity. If and only if you decide that the next 180 days will be different from every day before them. So take a breath. Let everything outside this moment fade away. And silently say to yourself, this time, I'm not quitting. This time, I'm becoming who I'm meant to be. Now, let's begin. The moment you stop thinking about 6 months and start committing to it. If you want the next 6 months of your life to look completely different, there is one truth you need to accept. A new life does not begin with motivation. It begins with a contract with yourself, a contract you don't break, a contract that marks the exact day you finally stop negotiating with your potential. Most people never change because 6 months is always this vague idea floating in the background. They say, I'll fix things soon. I'll get serious later. I'll start over next Monday. But soon, later, and Monday have stolen more dreams than failure ever has. 6 months keeps passing. But nothing changes because they never turn the idea into an actual commitment. This chapter is where that ends. From now on, 6 months is no longer a soft thought in your head. It's a hard deadline, not the kind that pressures you, but the kind that rescues you. Because whether you realize it or not, the next 6 months will pass anyway. The question is, will they pass with you, becoming someone new, or staying exactly the same? Let's be brutally honest for a moment. How many 6 months have you wasted already? How many times have you said, I'll change, only to fall back into the same routines, the same habits, the same excuses? This time is different, not because the calendar changed, but because you are about to. You are stepping into the next 180 days with a rule, no backup personality. Meaning, for the next 6 months, you don't get to try. You don't get to see how it goes. You don't get to slip back into the old identity that keeps failing you. You are committing fully to becoming the version of yourself that acts with clarity, discipline, and intention. Think of it like this. Every transformation begins with a moment where you draw a line in the sand and say, I'm done with who I've been. I'm becoming someone new. This chapter is that line. Why a contract works. A contract forces clarity. A contract removes negotiation. A contract creates accountability not to someone else but to your future self. When something is written, dated, and declared, the mind treats it differently. It becomes real. It becomes tangible. It becomes something you follow not because you feel motivated, but because you signed your name to it. So here's what you're going to do. Step 1. Write the start date and the end date. Today is not a random day. Today is day 0 of your 6-month transformation timeline. Write it down. Start date, end date, exactly 180 days from now. When you physically write those dates, something shifts in your mind. Time stops being abstract. Your future stops being something blurry. You can now see the finish line. You can now measure progress. You are no longer drifting, you are tracking. Step 2. Write the sentence that anchors your new identity. Write this exactly as it is for the next 180 days. I am no longer available for the old version of me. This sentence is not poetry. It's a psychological pattern interrupt, a message to your nervous system that your old patterns, old excuses, and old behaviors are no longer acceptable terms of your life. You're telling your brain, I am upgrading. That old identity is expired. Do you know how powerful that is? Most people fail because they try to build a new life, while still identifying as the person who destroyed the old one. That's like trying to run new software on a corrupted operating system. You can't change your life until you stop being loyal to the version of you that wastes time, avoids responsibility, and chooses comfort over growth. This contract cuts the cord. Step 3. Visualize day 180. You looking back at today. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the person you will be 6 months from now. What does their body feel like? Their discipline, their confidence. How do they walk into a room? How do they wake up? How do they speak to themselves? Now, ask yourself, what would day 180 me thank me for doing today? What would day 180 me beg me to stop doing today? Your future self is already watching, already waiting, already hoping you show up. Because here's the secret. Transformation doesn't happen on day 180. Transformation happens the moment you decide you're done lying to yourself. And that moment is right now. Step 4. Sign it. For real. Write your name. Your full name. This is your signature. Your seal. Your declaration. You are no longer living like someone who has time to waste. You are living like someone with urgency, clarity, and purpose. After tonight, you don't drift. You don't hope. You don't try. You commit. You lead. You show up. This is the 6-month contract that begins the rest of your life. And after you sign it, the next chapter will show you exactly how to start your transformation with calm, ruthless clarity, the 6-month life audit that exposes everything holding you back. Take a breath, look at your signature, and welcome to day 1. If you're going to change your life in 6 months, you must begin with the kind of honesty most people run from their entire lives. Not dramatic honesty, not emotional honesty, clinical honesty, calm honesty, fact-based honesty, The kind of honesty that strips away excuses, stories, justifications, and leaves only what's real. Because here's the truth. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they insist on pretending problems don't exist. They avoid the mirror, then wonder why nothing changes. They avoid the truth, then wonder why their life feels stuck. But you're not doing that anymore. Today, you begin your life audit, the kind of audit that exposes what needs to change now, not someday. This audit has 4 pillars, 4 areas that shape the quality of your entire life. You're going to look at each one without guilt, without story, without shame, just facts. 1. Body. What are you giving it? How are you treating it? What energy are you waking up with? Your body is not the problem. Your body is the report card of your habits. Sleep, food, movement, hydration, these aren't nice to have. They are the foundation of discipline, focus, clarity, and emotional stability. Ask yourself, how do I feel when I wake up? Am I tired because life is hard, or because I treat my body carelessly? What foods drain me? What routines leave me sluggish, irritable, or unfocused? What habits do I run back to whenever I feel overwhelmed? No judgment, only observation. Your body is telling you exactly what needs to change. You cannot build a powerful life in a tired, neglected body. 2. Mind what loops replay every morning, what beliefs shape your identity. Your thoughts are not random. They are patterns. They are habits. They are loops you've been rehearsing for years. Every morning, before your feet even hit the floor, your mind is already running its script. I'm behind. I don't feel like it. I'll start tomorrow. What's the point? These aren't personality traits. They are programmed responses. And the problem isn't the thought itself, it's the fact that you believe it. Ask yourself, what lies do I keep telling myself out of comfort? What fears do I hold on to because they feel familiar? What beliefs make me shrink instead of act? What identity have I been loyal to, even though it hurts me? This is not of I. Self-criticism. This is self-awareness, and self-awareness is a weapon. 3. Time. Where are your 24 hours actually going? Everyone claims they don't have time, but the truth is visible in the data. Open your screen time. Look at your messages. Look at your evenings. Look at your weekends. That's your life. Not the goals you talk about. Not the intentions you imagine. Your time usage is your destiny. Ask yourself, where do my hours leak? What am I doing at night that destroys tomorrow? What activities give nothing back? Yet I keep returning to them. How much of my day is reaction versus intention? This isn't about judging yourself. It's about seeing the truth without hiding from it. Because you cannot change 6 months of your life if you don't know where your days are going. 4. People who lifts you up, who drains you, who pulls you backward. You don't rise above the people you spend the most time with. You match them. You mirror them. You absorb their energy without even realizing it. Look at your circle with honesty. Who grows with you? Who distracts you? Who forces you to shrink? Who drains your fire? Who keeps you small because your growth threatens their comfort? You don't need conflict. You don't need to argue or explain. Just facts. Some people belong in your future. Some people belong in your past. And the sooner you accept that, the faster your life moves. Micro-action. Write down 5 brutal truths, not paragraphs, not essays, not emotional stories. Just 5 things you know are quietly ruining your life. For example, I stay up too late doing nothing. I avoid hard tasks until they become emergencies. I let certain people distract me. I eat for comfort instead of fuel. I talk about goals more than I act on them. These aren't judgments. They are data. And once the truth is on paper, it loses its power to hide. Most people will never do this audit because they're afraid of what they'll find. But avoidance doesn't save you. It traps you. And if you want to change your life in 6 months, you must stop pretending you don't know what needs to change. You do know. You've always known. This is the chapter where you stop acting like you don't. Tomorrow isn't going to magically fix anything. But your honesty today, that's the beginning of everything. Before you can build discipline, before you can design routines, before you can transform your life over the next 6 months, you must confront the habits that make you quietly hate yourself. Not because you're weak, not because you're broken, but because you've been coping, numbing, escaping instead of choosing the version of you that you actually respect. These habits didn't show up overnight. They appeared in moments of stress, loneliness, boredom, or fear. At first, they felt harmless. A little scrolling to take the edge off. A little junk food to feel better. A little procrastination to avoid discomfort. But small habits compound, and the habits you repeat most often become the architecture of your identity. Over time, these behaviors turn into something heavier: self-betrayal. Self-betrayal happens every time you do something that feels good for 5 minutes, but destroys you for the rest of the day. It happens when you keep choosing the thing that gives you relief now and regret later. And the worst part, you know exactly what those habits are. You can feel it the moment they happen. That sting, that heaviness, that voice saying, "I shouldn't have done that," right after you finish. That is the feeling of self-hate being built one small decision at a time. If you want the next 6 months to change your life, you cannot fix everything at once, but you must start breaking the habits that destroy your self-respect. Let's name them. 1. The habits you run to when you're stressed: scrolling, snacking, overthinking, sleeping to avoid life, filling every uncomfortable moment with stimulation. These habits numb your life instead of improving it. They're not relaxing you, they're draining your drive. Ask yourself, what do I reach for when I'm overwhelmed? That's where the cycle begins. 2. The habits that make you feel ashamed afterward. You know the ones. The late-night binge eating. The hours wasted online. The tasks avoided until they explode. The promises made in the morning and broken by evening. The decisions that feel harmless in the moment but cut your confidence in half. These aren't bad habits. They're self-disrespect rituals. Every time you repeat them, you send your mind the same message: I cannot rely on myself. And that message becomes a belief. And that belief becomes your identity. 3. The habits that shape your emotional state. Your emotions are not random. They are largely built by your behavior. If you feed your body garbage, you cannot expect your mind to feel clean. If you surround yourself with noise, you cannot expect your thoughts to be calm. If you avoid responsibility, you cannot expect your confidence to grow. Your habits determine your mood more than your feelings do. 4. The habits that keep you in the same loop, these are the most dangerous ones. The routines you've done for so long that you barely notice them. The "I'll start tomorrow" cycles. The "just 5 more minutes" delays. The "I know I shouldn't, but" moments. Tiny choices repeated hundreds of times become chains. The truth you need to hear: you are not tired of life. You are tired of being out of alignment with yourself. You are tired of breaking your own rules. You are tired of living below the standards you know you're capable of. You are tired of waking up knowing exactly what needs to change, but choosing the same habits anyway. This isn't about being perfect. This is about stopping the behaviors that make you feel small. Once you stop doing the things that hurt you, the things that heal you become so much easier. How to break the self-hate habit loop. You break them with identity. You break them by removing negotiation. You break them by choosing one behavior, just one, and saying, "This stops today." Not forever. Just today. And then tomorrow, you do it again. You replace the self-hate habit with a self-respect habit. Instead of scrolling, you breathe. Stretch. Stand up. Instead of procrastinating, you do one small step, people. Instead of overeating, you drink water and pause. Instead of collapsing, you organize your space. Instead of running, you face the discomfort for 60 seconds. These are not huge steps, but they signal something important to your mind. I am no longer abandoning myself. Your brain doesn't need perfection. It needs proof. Proof that you can interrupt the pattern. Proof that you can make a different choice. Proof that you are becoming someone you trust again. The shift you will feel when you begin breaking these habits. Something powerful happens. Your mind becomes clearer. Your guilt fades. Your confidence rises. Your energy increases. Your direction returns. You start respecting the person you are becoming. You start walking like someone who follows through. You start feeling proud of yourself again. And that pride, that quiet inner strength, is what fuels the rest of your transformation. Self-hate habits don't ruin your life all at once. They ruin it slowly, quietly, invisibly. But self-respect habits rebuild your life the same way, one choice at a time. Over the next 6 months, you are not trying to be perfect. You are choosing, every day, to stop abandoning yourself. Because when you stop choosing the habits that hurt you, you finally create space for the life that's meant to find you. Most people think a routine is a list of pretty habits. Make your bed. Drink lemon water. Journal for 5 minutes. Read a quote. Light a candle. That's not a routine. That's a mood. If you want to transform your life in 6 months, you don't need a cute morning ritual. You need a growth system, a structure that forces progress, even on the days you don't feel motivated, especially on those days. This chapter is where you build the engine that will carry you through the next 180 days. Not a routine to feel better. A routine that makes you better. Busy is not the same as growth. You don't need a full schedule. You don't need 15 habits. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. to prove anything. You need clarity, simplicity, and consistency. Growth comes from doing the right things. Repeatedly, not from cramming your day with noise. So, instead of a traditional routine, you're going to build the 6-month growth routine. Built on 3 non-negotiable blocks you complete every single day. Think of them as anchors, not tasks. If these 3 things get done, your life cannot stay the same. The 3 blocks you must complete daily. 1. Body block: move, hydrate, sleep. Your body is the container of your discipline. If the container is weak, cracked, tired, or inflamed, everything else collapses. Your daily body block is simple. Move your body at least 20-30 minutes. Hydrate intentionally. Protect your sleep like it's part of your paycheck. This is not about aesthetics. This is about identity. A strong body creates a mind that does not break easily. 2. Mind block: read, write, sit in silence. Your mind is the steering wheel of your life. If you don't control the wheel, autopilot takes over, and autopilot drives you straight back into your old patterns. The mind block is not complicated. Read something that elevates you. Write something that clears you. Sit in silence long enough to hear your own thoughts. This block detoxes your mind from noise, overstimulation, and cheap dopamine. It strengthens your awareness so you can make decisions consciously instead of emotionally. 3. Work block: deep, focused work on your main goal, not being busy, not staying active, not answering messages for hours. 1 simple rule: every day, you do at least 1 block of deep work toward your main 6-month goal. Whether it's money, career, skill, project, business, learning, this block is your forward momentum. This is where your future is built. Brick by brick. Even 1 hour of deep, focused work every day can change your life in ways that trying hard for years never will. The 2 core principles of this routine: 1. Same time, same place. The brain doesn't like negotiating. Negotiation drains willpower. When something happens at a consistent time and place, your brain learns to execute without resistance. No debating. No should I. No mental back and forth. Just action. This 1 principle alone can 10x your discipline. 2. 3 needles only rule in 6 months. You're not trying to fix your entire life. You're focusing on the 3 needles that truly matter: health, mind, money, skill, purpose. If something doesn't move one of those needles, it's noise. A successful 6-month transformation is not about doing more. It's about removing what doesn't matter so the things that do matter finally have space to grow. Why this routine works? Because it's not overwhelming. Because it's not unrealistic. Because it removes negotiation. Because it focuses your energy. Because it rewires you through repetition. Because it builds identity, not motivation. A cute morning routine can make you feel good for an hour. A 6-month growth routine builds a life you don't need motivation to maintain. Micro action for today. Write down your simplified 24-hour structure for your 6-month mode. What time will you wake up? When is body block? When is mind block? When is work block? What goes in the trash list? The habits, activities, and distractions that no longer fit into the next 6 months of your life. Make it simple. Make it clear. Make it real. Because starting today, your routine is no longer about feeling productive. It's about becoming the kind of person who grows daily, consistently, intentionally. For the next 6 months, you are rewriting the rule book of how you make decisions. This chapter is where everything shifts, because if you master this one principle, your entire identity changes with it. You stop choosing comfort as your default. You start choosing growth as your standard. Comfort has been quietly stealing your future. It's soft. It's easy. It whispers, "You deserve a break," even when you haven't earned anything yet. Comfort gives you temporary relief while taking away long-term pride. Growth does the opposite. Growth is uncomfortable in the moment, but it rewards you for the rest of your life. This chapter is about training yourself to make that trade again and again until choosing growth becomes natural, automatic, unavoidable. The power of fork moments every day. You hit multiple crossroads, small decisions that look harmless, but shape your future. These are fork moments. Snooze or get up. Cook or order junk. Focus or scroll. Tell the truth or avoid the discomfort. Do the workout or skip it. Work on the goal or find a distraction. These moments seem tiny, but they define everything. Your next level isn't determined by big events. It's built by the hundreds of micro-decisions you make when no one is watching. And here's the rule you follow. For the next 6 months, burn this into your identity in fork moments. The 6-month version of you chooses the harder option 80% of the time, not 100%. You're human. But 80% is enough to transform your life completely. The hard option is almost always the growth option. Waking up when you said you would, growth. Not eating the comfort food, growth. Doing the boring task that actually matters, growth. Having the difficult conversation, growth. Finishing the work before relaxing, growth. Every time you choose growth, you strengthen your identity. Every time you choose comfort, you weaken it. Why comfort is dangerous? Comfort doesn't announce itself as the enemy. It doesn't feel like sabotage. It feels cozy, soft, harmless. But comfort is the reason. You keep repeating the same year on loop. You lose momentum every time you start. You feel stuck even when you try. You doubt yourself before you even begin. Comfort drains discipline, the way sugar drains energy. Quick spike, long crash, more cravings, weaker will. Comfort makes you small. Comfort makes you slow. Comfort makes you forget what you're capable of. You weren't built to live soft. Not for the next 6 months. Growth is the new default. Setting growth is not just action. Growth is identity. Growth means you choose the decision that stretches you. You accept discomfort as part of the process. You understand that your feelings are not your compass. Your commitment is alive. You stop waiting for motivation and rely on discipline instead. You choose the future version of you over the impulse of the moment. When growth becomes the default, your life stops being reactive and starts being intentional. This is how real momentum is born. Micro action tonight. Write down your 3 daily fork moments, the ones you face almost every day. Examples: 1. Wake up time. 2. Phone versus focus. 3. Food choice. 4. Workout or skip. 5. Study or scroll. 6. Speak up or stay silent. Once you identify them, you eliminate negotiation. For the next 6 months, when the fork moment shows up, you choose the one that grows you. Every time. Especially when it's inconvenient. Visual cue. Imagine your future self 6 months from today looking back. Imagine them saying, "My entire life looks different because I chose the harder option when no one would have known the difference." That's the person you're becoming. Not because of luck, not because of motivation, but because you mastered the invisible decisions that shape visible results. If you want to transform your life in the next 6 months, you need to understand something that most people never realize. You're not losing to laziness. You're losing to dopamine. Not the healthy kind that comes from purpose, progress, and meaning, but the cheap kind that comes from scrolling, snacking, escaping, and constantly distracting yourself from the life you're meant to build. Cheap dopamine is the invisible enemy of growth. It doesn't ruin your life loudly. It ruins it quietly, softly, so softly that you don't even notice your focus slipping, your patience thinning, your clarity fading, your drive weakening. At first, it feels harmless. Then, slowly, it rewires the way you move through your day, the way you think, the way you show up for yourself. Every time you chase a quick distraction, your brain learns a lesson. Discomfort means escape. Effort means avoidance. Boredom means stimulation. Stress means scrolling. And without realizing it, you've trained your mind to run away from anything that requires discipline. That's why reading feels harder. Why deep work feels painful. Why you can't sit in silence without reaching for something. It's not a character flaw. It's conditioning. And the good news is that what has been conditioned can be rewired. Cheap dopamine hides in the places you've stopped questioning the hours you lose on your phone. The mindless eating you use to soothe emotions. The drama you keep replaying because it gives you a surge of intensity. None of these things were built to make you better. They were built to keep you hooked. Screens offer constant novelty. Sugar gives you a high that fades as quickly as it hits. Drama gives you emotional stimulation that feels important but leads nowhere. And because these things are always available, always easy, and always comforting, your brain starts depending on them. Pleasure becomes instant. Focus becomes fractured. And your ability to delay gratification, the exact skill success is built on, becomes weaker. But here's the truth you need to hear. Your brain isn't damaged. It's overloaded. It doesn't need punishment. It needs rewiring. And rewiring begins the moment you stop relying on quick pleasure and start choosing deep fulfillment instead. Fulfillment doesn't spike your dopamine. It stabilizes it. It comes from the quiet, steady satisfaction of progress. From finishing a workout you didn't want to start. From reading instead of scrolling. From creating instead of consuming. From doing the uncomfortable task, even though your impulses pulled you toward escape. Fulfillment takes longer, demands more effort, and feels harder in the moment. But the reward is peace, confidence, stability, and self-respect. Cheap dopamine gives you a rush. Deep fulfillment gives you power. Rewiring your brain doesn't mean quitting everything at once. It means replacing impulsive patterns with intentional ones. Instead of reaching for your phone the moment boredom hits, you pause. Instead of eating because you're stressed, you drink water. Breathe deeply, or sit still long enough to feel what's actually going on. Instead of feeding drama, you distance yourself from noise. Instead of numbing discomfort, you choose one meaningful action: a walk, a page of reading, a small task completed. You don't remove the habit. You redirect the impulse. That's how rewiring works. And no, you don't have to become a monk. You don't need to throw your phone away or live without pleasure. You just need to stop overdosing. Turn notifications off. Keep the phone out of reach during deep work. Take the first hour of your morning back. Let sugar be intentional, not emotional. Set boundaries with people who drain your mind. Reduce the hit, don't eliminate life. These small shifts create the biggest neurological changes. What truly accelerates your rewiring is this reward effort, not relief. Every time you choose the harder path, the old version of you would have avoided, acknowledge it. It doesn't matter how small it is. You woke up without hitting snooze. You read 2 pages instead of scrolling. You cooked instead of ordering junk. You moved your body even when you felt tired. These tiny choices send a powerful message to your brain. Doing hard things feels good. When your brain starts believing that, motivation becomes irrelevant. Discipline becomes natural. And consistency becomes your default. Over time, the urges that once controlled you begin to fade. Silence no longer feels uncomfortable. Work no longer feels impossible. Focus becomes a skill instead of a struggle. And the clarity you thought you lost begins to return. You start feeling connected to yourself again. You start trusting yourself again. And, most importantly, you begin living again with intention instead of impulse. Cheap dopamine makes life feel easier in the moment, but it makes your future harder. Deep fulfillment makes life feel harder in the moment, but it builds a future you're proud of. For the next 6 months, your mission is simple. Stop feeding the impulses that keep you weak, and start feeding the actions that make you powerful. You're not trying to feel good every second. You're building a mind that can handle discomfort, boredom, silence, pressure, and growth. This is the chapter where everything changes. Because once you take your dopamine back, you take your focus back. And once you take your focus back, you take your future back. This is where momentum begins, not with hype, not with motivation, but with a rewired mind that no longer needs escape to survive. 6 months from now, you won't just feel different. You'll be different. And it starts with the next decision you make, the next impulse you resist, the next moment where you choose fulfillment over the hit. That's how you return to yourself. That's how you take back your life. That's how you rise. There's a simple truth most people don't want to face. Fear grows in delay. The longer you wait, the bigger the task becomes in your mind. The more you postpone it, the heavier it feels. Avoidance feeds the fear. But action, even the smallest action, cuts it down instantly. Every day you delay the hard thing. You make it harder. Every day you push it to later. You make later a battlefield. you don't yet have the strength to win. That's why the next phase of your 6-month transformation is about something deceptively small but radically powerful: micro-courage. Most people misunderstand courage. They imagine it as something dramatic, bold speeches, life-changing decisions, intense fearlessness. But that's not real courage. Real courage is quiet. Real courage is practical. Real courage is choosing to do one thing every day that your mind wants to run from. Not because you're fearless, but because you're tired of letting fear make decisions for you. Micro-courage is the discipline of acting before your mind has time to negotiate. It is the willingness to do the uncomfortable thing while your hands shake and your stomach tightens and your excuses rise. It is courage in small doses, but repeated daily. Those small doses become a force that rewrites your life. And this principle becomes a rule: do the hard thing first. Not at the end of the day. Not after warming up. Not once you feel ready. You do it first, right at the beginning of your work block. Within the first 60 to 90 minutes. Before the world has a chance to distract you. Before your energy gets scattered. Because once you've conquered the hardest thing of the day, everything else becomes lighter. Your confidence rises. Your mind clears. Your momentum builds. You walk through the rest of your day with a quiet power, the kind that comes from knowing you didn't run today. Imagine this tomorrow morning. You wake up, and instead of letting your brain scan for pleasure, comfort, or escape, you land directly on the thing you've been avoiding. The call you haven't made. The email you owe. The task that's been haunting you. The workout you keep skipping. The conversation you've postponed. And you do it. Not because it feels good, but because you've made a 6-month commitment to becoming a different human being, someone who moves, someone who faces, someone who chooses courage over convenience. Micro-courage is not about massive breakthroughs. It's about one honest moment of action each day. You don't need to change your entire life before noon. You just need to do one thing that proves to yourself, I don't hide anymore. That one act creates a ripple, a shift in identity, a message to your nervous system that you are no longer the person who avoids. To make this shift real, take a moment to look at your life. What have you been avoiding? What tasks do you keep dragging with you from week to week? What responsibilities sit in the background of your mind, draining your energy, stealing your clarity, making you feel behind? You know exactly what they are. Write them down, all of them. And from that list, pick one, just one, the most important one. Then make yourself a promise within the next 24 hours. That task will be done. Not negotiated. Not delayed. Not scheduled. Done. You'll be surprised by what happens when you do. The moment you finish it, the moment you break the avoidance, pattern relief hits you like oxygen. Not excitement. Relief. The heavy weight in your chest dissolves. Your mind becomes lighter. And what's more powerful than the relief is the recognition of who you just became. Someone who acts. Someone who chooses forward movement. Someone who doesn't let fear dictate the day. People think confidence is built through achievement. But the truth is, simpler confidence is built through completion. Every time you finish something you used to avoid, your self-respect grows. Every time you face something uncomfortable, your identity strengthens. Every day you choose micro-courage. You become harder to intimidate even by your own thoughts. This is how you break the cycle, not by trying to transform everything at once, but by proving to yourself daily that you can do the thing you don't want to do. Small acts, repeated consistently, change who you believe you are, and once your belief shifts, your behavior follows. For the next 6 months, you will wake up each day and identify the one hard thing, the friction point, the uncomfortable task, the thing you'd normally postpone, and you will do it first. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, just directly. You will train your mind to move toward difficulty instead of away from it. You will teach your nervous system that avoidance is no longer your default. And you will build a version of yourself who doesn't negotiate with fear. The real secret is this: most of the fulfillment you're looking for is on the other side of the thing you're avoiding. The clarity, the momentum, the self-respect, it all lives there. Avoidance steals your power. Action gives it back. So tomorrow, and every day for the next 6 months, you practice micro-courage. You do the hard thing first. You stop waiting for readiness. You stop giving fear time to grow. You stop feeding the delay. And you start becoming the kind of person who walks into discomfort with a steady heart. Because when you become that person, everything in your life begins to change. If you want real change in 6 months, you have to protect your environment with the same seriousness you protect your goals. Most people try to grow while staying in the exact environment that has been draining them, distracting them, and slowing them down for years. They wonder why progress feels heavy, why discipline feels impossible, why motivation disappears. They blame themselves. But the truth is simpler. You're not failing. Your environment is working against you. Your environment is more powerful than your willpower. It shapes your behavior quietly, invisibly, every hour of your day. You think you make decisions from logic, but most of your choices come from exposure. What you see, what you hear, who you're around, what fills your physical space. All of it influences your energy before you're even aware it's happening. This is why 6-month transformations fail for most people. They try to change themselves while leaving everything around them untouched. To grow, you need an environment that supports you. And when we talk about environment, we're talking about 3 layers, people. Digital and physical, each one either lifting you higher or pulling you down. Let's start with people, because no force affects your growth more than the people you interact with every day. Some people energize you, some drain you, some encourage you, some doubt you, some pull you upward, some quietly pull you back down. You know exactly who does which. You can feel it in your body. And when you're trying to grow, the wrong person can cost you days, weeks, even months of progress. Every conversation, every comment, every vibe, you're absorbing it. You're paying an energetic rent every time you let someone into your mental space. Some people are worth the cost. Some people are not. Part of protecting your environment is recognizing the difference without guilt, without overthinking, without trying to save people who don't want to grow. You don't have to cut them off with drama. You simply stop giving them the same access to your mind. Then there's the digital environment, the invisible world you carry in your pocket. Your phone is not neutral. It's a doorway. And if you're not careful, that doorway becomes an invasion. Every notification is someone else's agenda. Every scroll is a leak in your focus. Every algorithm is shaping your attention. Most people underestimate how much their phone steals from them. It steals their clarity. It steals their time. It steals their ability to stay present long enough to build anything meaningful. Your digital environment needs boundaries. You cannot let your phone own your day. You cannot let random content hijack your mind. You cannot keep giving your energy to digital noise and expect a focused life. Protect this space like it's sacred, because your future depends on what your mind consumes. And then there's the physical environment, the space you live in, work in, sleep in. It speaks to your nervous system louder than words. Clutter keeps you anxious. Chaos keeps you unfocused. A dirty room steals your discipline. A messy workspace makes your brain feel overloaded even before the day begins. You don't need a perfect aesthetic lifestyle. You need order. You need space that signals direction instead of confusion. You need a room that reflects where you're going, not where you've been. All three layers of your environment are shaping you, whether you realize it or not. And protecting them is not a sign of being cold or distant. It is a sign of maturity. It means you understand that your energy is limited. It means you understand that your future needs room to grow. It means you're done letting your environment sabotage your progress. And that brings us to the core truth. You can't change your future if you don't change your surroundings. You can't build a focused life in a distracted environment. You can't evolve into a stronger version of yourself while staying surrounded by people who benefit from your weakness. You can't grow in a space filled with old patterns, old habits, and old energy. You must upgrade your environment with intention. So here's your turning point. Choose one person whose access to you needs to be reduced. Not cut off, just reduced. Create space. Create boundaries. Give your future room to breathe. Then choose one thing in your physical space that needs to be cleared, cleaned, or removed. And finally, choose one digital habit that needs to end, even if it's just turning off notifications or deleting one distracting app. These are small actions, but they create a massive shift. Not because they change the world around you overnight, but because they change the signal you send to yourself. I am building a life that supports my growth. This chapter is about calm strength, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. The kind that says, I'm choosing what's good for me. The kind that knows toxic energy doesn't deserve your time. The kind that refuses to let chaos enter your mind. When you protect your environment, you protect your future. You protect your focus. You protect your drive. And in the next 6 months, that protection becomes your advantage. People will wonder how you changed so fast. They'll think it was discipline, motivation, or luck. But you'll know the truth. You changed your environment, and your environment changed you. There is a moment in every transformation when something inside you shifts so deeply that going back is no longer an option. Not because you force yourself, and not because someone else pushes you, but because the person you used to be simply does not fit anymore. That is the level of identity change you must create over the next 6 months. Not small adjustments. Not temporary discipline. A true shift. A shift so real that the habits you once used to escape yourself feel foreign. The excuses you used to rely on no longer make sense. The comfort you used to chase feels cheap. And the old version of you becomes someone you barely recognize. Identity is the root of all change. People try to fix their habits, their routines, their mindset, but they forget the source. You behave according to the story you believe about yourself. If your identity says you are inconsistent, you will sabotage your progress. If it says you are lazy, you will avoid effort. If it says you always quit, you will look for reasons to stop. And if your identity still carries the old belief, I'm trying to be disciplined, you will never become disciplined. Trying is an identity of uncertainty. Becoming is an identity of truth. The shift you want happens when you stop trying and start being. When you stop acting like someone who hopes to change and start acting like someone who finishes what they start. This chapter is about becoming that person. Not a perfect person. Not a superhuman person. But a person who cannot go back because the new identity is too strong to lose. You build that identity through something deeper than motivation or effort. You build it through repetition. Every time you choose discipline over avoidance, you reinforce a new belief. Every time you follow through when it would have been easier to quit, you strengthen your story. Every day you act like the person you want to become. You make it harder for the old version of you to survive. Change happens slowly, then suddenly. But it always starts the same way, with one new belief repeated enough times that your brain begins to accept it as truth. Right now, your life is following an identity loop. Belief shapes behavior. Behavior creates proof. Proof strengthens belief. Most people are stuck in a loop that keeps confirming the worst things they think about themselves. They believe they are inconsistent, so they behave inconsistently. The behavior becomes proof, so the belief grows stronger. Over time, the loop becomes a trap. But the beautiful thing about identity is that it can be rewritten at any moment you choose. The moment you disrupt one piece of the loop, the entire loop begins to shift. And this is where your 6-month transformation becomes powerful. You are choosing to disrupt the loop every day until the old identity breaks open. Becoming someone who cannot go back begins with acceptance. Acceptance that the old version of you was built from survival, habit, and fear. Acceptance that you no longer need to protect that version. Acceptance that your future cannot coexist with your past. And once you accept that truth, you stop grieving who you were and start focusing on who you are becoming. You do this by choosing one identity sentence. Not a wish or a goal, but a truth you are training your mind to embody. I am someone who finishes what they start. That sentence is a foundation. You repeat it every morning. You repeat it before you work. You repeat it when you want to quit. The repetition is not magic. It is alignment. You are teaching your brain who you are now. And the more you act in accordance with that identity, the stronger it becomes. This is where discipline changes shape. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about acting in alignment with who you believe you are. When your identity shifts, discipline stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like integrity. When you see yourself as someone who follows through, following through becomes the natural choice. This is why 6 months is enough to change your entire life. Not because 6 months is long, but because identity compounds. Every day you make a decision that your old self wouldn't make. You weaken the old identity and strengthen the new one. Eventually, the gap becomes so large that going back feels impossible. But here's the truth most people don't want to face. You cannot build a new identity while secretly keeping the back door open. You can't become a stronger person while still hoping for an easy way out. You can't evolve while holding on to the habits that kept you weak. You need to burn the bridge behind you. Not physically, not aggressively, but mentally. You need to close the exits. The old you had endless exits. Tomorrow, later, not today, maybe next Monday. When I feel ready. When life gets easier. These exits are why you stayed stuck. From this chapter forward, those exits are gone. You live forward only. Becoming the person who can't go back means learning to feel the discomfort of growth without trying to escape it. It means holding yourself to a higher standard, not because you're punishing yourself, but because you're honoring the future you're building. It means seeing discomfort as a signal of transformation rather than a sign to run. Growth does not feel familiar. It's not supposed to. You are stepping into an identity your brain has never worn before. That requires friction. That requires pressure. That requires effort. But each time you push through that friction, your identity shifts a little more. And eventually, the shift becomes permanent. There will be days when you feel the old version of yourself pulling you back. That is normal. It is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that the old identity is losing power. The key is not to fight it. The key is to outgrow it. When doubt appears, act anyway. When fear rises, move anyway. When your mind whispers old excuses, ignore them. Every time you choose action over avoidance, certainty over delay, commitment over comfort, you are proving to yourself that you are someone new. And proof is what identity is built on. 6 months from now, you won't just have better habits. You will have a new foundation, a new story, a new internal standard, a new identity. And when that identity is strong enough, going back won't even feel possible. The person you were will become a memory, someone you thank for surviving, but someone you no longer need to be. That is the transformation you are building now. A transformation where the old you fades, not because you hate them, but because you outgrew them. A transformation where discipline is no longer effort, but expression. A transformation where you become the person who doesn't quit, doesn't delay, doesn't negotiate with weakness. You become the person who finishes what they start. The person who leads. The person who grows. The person who is impossible to pull back. This is the identity that makes 6 months enough to change everything. Because once you become someone who can't go back, your future becomes unstoppable. Take a breath. Slow, steady, grounded. Because what you're stepping into now isn't just another chapter. It's a personal oath, a reorientation of your identity, a decision that, if honored, will make the next 6 months the most transformative period of your life. You're not here by accident. You didn't listen this far because you're curious. You listened because something inside you is done being half alive. Something inside you is ready to stop surviving and start becoming. And before you step into the next 6 months, you need to acknowledge what has already shifted. You signed your 6-month contract. Not a wish, not a hope. A contract, a promise with edges, weight, and consequence. You audited your life with a level of honesty most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You confronted your habits, the ones that quietly made you hate yourself. You built a routine centered around real growth, not aesthetic productivity. You chose long-term progress over momentary comfort, even when comfort screamed louder. You detoxed from cheap dopamine and reclaimed the mental clarity you forgot you even had. You learned to do hard things first, not because they were easy, but because they mattered. You protected your environment, your energy, your mind. You removed the people, the noise, the patterns that kept you small. You lifted your identity so high that your old life no longer fits the person you are becoming. That is not small. That is not casual. That is the foundation of a completely different existence. And now, here you stand at the edge of something new, something raw, something powerful. The next 6 months will not be shaped by chance. They will be shaped by who you decide to be after hearing this chapter. Because from this moment on, there are only 2 types of people left. Those who listen, feel inspired, and go back to their old patterns like nothing happened. And those who hear this, feel something click inside them, and whisper, "This is my turning point." The difference between them is not talent, not luck, not resources. It's the willingness to choose a new identity and live by it even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one claps for them. You are choosing the second path, because if you weren't, you wouldn't still be here. So let me say this clearly. The next 6 months will not change you. You will change the next 6 months. And that begins with a declaration, one sentence, that rewires the expectations you carry for yourself for the next 180 days. I am no longer available for the old version of me. Not available for procrastination. Not available for self-betrayal. Not available for the habits that numb your potential. Not available for the people who drain your ambition. Not available for the excuses that once controlled your life. Not available for the identity that kept you small. These next 6 months belong to the version of you who follows through. The version who does not negotiate with laziness. The version who refuses to shrink just because discomfort shows up. The version who chooses what builds them, not what soothes them. The version who understands that discipline is a form of self-love, not self-punishment. 6 months is enough time to rebuild your mind. 6 months is enough time to rewire your habits. 6 months is enough time to become unrecognizable not to the world, but to yourself. You will not magically transform overnight. Transformation is not a moment. It is a rhythm repeated daily, protected fiercely, owned completely. So here is the rhythm you step into every morning. You remember your contract. Every afternoon, you execute on the hard things. Every evening, you reflect not to judge yourself, but to stay aligned. Every night, you prepare your environment so tomorrow's success becomes easier than tomorrow's excuses. You are not hoping for change anymore. You are engineering it. And yes, there will be days when you feel tired. Days when discipline feels heavy. Days when the old version of you tries to pull you back. But hear this. The presence of resistance does not mean you're failing. It means you're evolving. Identity does not shift quietly. It shifts through friction. And that friction is the doorway to your future. When the discomfort shows up, you won't run this time. You won't spiral into old habits. You won't negotiate with the part of you that wants easy. Instead, you'll say, "This is what growth feels like. I keep going." And slowly, quietly, beautifully, your life will begin to rearrange itself around the strength you've been building. New habits will feel natural. Discipline will feel normal. Self-respect will feel expected. Peace will feel familiar. And the version of you that once sabotaged everything will feel like a distant memory. The next 6 months are not about trying. They are about becoming. And becoming requires one final truth. Your future is not a group project. It is your responsibility. You cannot take everyone with you. You cannot explain your growth to people who fear their own. You cannot shrink so others feel comfortable. You cannot apologize for wanting a better life. These 6 months belong to the version of you who is done living small. So here is your activation, the final imprint before the transformation begins. Save this audio. So 2:17, 7 PLA. Listen to it for the next 7 nights before you sleep. Let these words sink into your subconscious until they become your new default. Use them as your anchor when your mind tries to drift back to comfort. Use them as your reminder when discipline feels inconvenient. Use them as your reset every time you forget who you are becoming. And any time in the next 6 months you feel yourself slipping, overwhelmed, or disconnected, return to Chapter 1 and Chapter 4. Re-listen, recenter, recommit, because you are not going back. You are not repeating the last 6 months. You are not living the same year again. You are rising. You are building. You are stepping into the strongest identity you've ever held. And 6 months from today, your future self will thank you for the moment you decided, this is the day everything changed. If you're still here, breathe for a moment. Let yourself feel what's shifting inside you right now. Because this isn't just the end of an audio. This is the beginning of a 6-month rebirth, one you chose with full awareness. You didn't listen passively. You didn't drift through the chapters. You showed up. You faced yourself. You stayed. And that alone already separates you from the version of you who kept starting over. Now, I want you to imagine something. 6 months from today, you're waking up with a calm mind. Your habits are simple and clean. Your routine is sharp. Your discipline feels natural. Your environment protects you instead of draining you. You trust yourself not because you hope to, but because you've earned it through daily action. And when you look back at this moment, you'll know this was the night everything shifted. So here's what I want you to do. Save this audio. Don't leave it behind. Don't let it fade into the noise of another day. Let it become part of your nighttime rhythm. For the next 7 nights, listen to this before you sleep. Let these ideas sink into your subconscious, where identity is shaped. Let your nervous system absorb this new standard until it becomes your normal. And then, any time in the next 6 months, when you feel yourself slipping, any time comfort gets loud, Anytime your old habits start whispering your name, come back here. Start again at chapter 1. Re-anchor your direction. Reactivate the identity you're building. You are no longer the person who quits. You are no longer available for the old version of you. For the next 180 days, choose the path your future self will thank you for. Choose the habits that lift you. Choose the environment that protects you. Choose the actions that make you proud at the end of the day. Choose the identity that pulls you forward instead of holding you back. And as you move through these 6 months, remember, transformation isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It isn't the big moments. It's the quiet promises you keep to yourself when no one is watching. It's the small decisions you repeat until they build a life you can stand on. It's the way you show up when motivation is gone and only character remains. You're ready. You're becoming. You're stepping into the strongest, clearest, most grounded version of yourself. Now go live the next 6 months like your future depends on it. Because it does, and you are finally choosing it. Listen, sleep, grow. Sleep Success Audiobook.